Crete, the island of light, birthplace of Zeus. Heraklion is the capital of the largest and most southerly of the Greek islands, on which a highly developed culture has existed for 4,000 years. The Venetians built massive fortresses to defend the island against the Turks. Connected by gangways, the defensive towers were equipped with cannon. Located in an old and picturesque harbour, the citadel of Coules is evidence of the bloody battles that once took place around Heraklion. Named after the city's governor and richly decorated with lions' heads, the Morosini fountain formed part of the city's water system in the centre of the Plaza Venizelos. At one time, the Titus Church was a domed mosque, and today reflects various epochs of the history of Crete. After the Arabs came the Christians. Knossos, capital of Crete at the time of King Minos, son of the god Zeus and the Phoenician princess Europa. Abducted by Zeus, and in the form of a white bull, Princess Europa was taken to Crete, where she gave birth to a son. According to Greek mythology, the culture of the Western world began with him. In 1878, the wonderful frescoes of the Phaistos Palace were discovered by a rich businessman of Crete who was also an archaeology enthusiast. Two storerooms were evacuated, within which 10 storage vessels were discovered. The conical pillars of the Minoan Palace were impressively reconstructed by Sir Arthur Evans, a matter now disputed. Of special note is the well-maintained throne room that contains the original throne of King Minos. Lassithi is the name of northern Crete's fertile plateau. Thanks to the fertile ground and natural underground water reserves, agriculture has flourished for centuries on the 60 square kilometers of the plateau. There were once thousands of windmills with white sails pumping water onto the fields. But today's farmers prefer diesel-driven pumps. Here the fatherly god Zeus was born. Odysseus was stranded on the island. and here the painter El Greco saw the light of the world. The Gortys Ruins are reminders of the moving history of an ancient town. Initial prosperity came at the time of Dorer in the 5th century BC, when Gortys became the most powerful town of the Messara Plain, as it subjugated Phaistos and Matala. And when the Romans came, they made Gortys the capital of the province of Crete and Cyrenaica, which included Egypt and parts of North Africa. Gortys was once a prosperous city. Everywhere in the olive groves between the hills can be found the scattered remnants of its past cultural riches. Of the Titus Basilica, all that remains is the old area. The 3 naves of this monumental early Christian bishop's church are still recognizable. Over its huge pillars curves a crossed dome. The altar room is adorned with icons. These are artistic paintings of religious leaders worshipped by the faithful. Reminders of Roman rule, these excavated statues indicate the great influence of a well-disciplined culture. The ruined town of Agia Triada is an archaeological enigma. Was this the country seat of an aristocrat or a prince? Or was it of religious significance? Agia Triada means Holy Trinity and was named after a nearby church. Compared to other palace grounds, a central courtyard is missing. After the demise of the Minoan culture, the Mycenaeans built on its ruins. To the north of the palace are the remains of a residential area and 8 ancient shops, the only known example of a Minoan market. The residential rooms of this culture are still recognizable today, plus storerooms and a paved street with a small river that once flowed to the sea. On this legendary sun-blessed island, the Minoan culture reigned over 4,000 years ago, and the many fascinating relics of this era can still be admired today. With its beautiful sandy beaches, the horseshoe-shaped Bay of Matala is a popular coastal resort. At the northern edge of the bay, the caves in the sandstone cliffs were hand-dug and probably served as early Christian or Roman graves. In the 1960s, hippies settled here, but time has outgrown them and they've long since disappeared. Today, the busy beach mainly attracts the younger element. Many visitors come here to enjoy the brilliant sunset. The waves gently caress the craggy rocks in the bay. Because of the Minoan palaces, Phaistos enjoys the most impressive location on the plateau, with a view over the distant Messara Plain. An imposing open stairway leads to the western entrance of the palace. Its 12 steps measure 14 meters wide and have been partially carved out of the rock face. Huge pottery jugs, which most likely served as storage containers for olive oil and other natural products, were retrieved in good condition from the ruins of the storeroom. Phaistos was first built in 1900 BC, but was destroyed 200 years later. However, a new palace was built on its original location. After Knossos, Crete's second largest palace has many similarities in terms of its basic structure and architecture. Rather than make fanciful reconstructions, Italian archaeologists chose to keep to the original foundations and walls. The designs of Minoan palace architecture were the opposite of classical Greek aesthetics, with narrow angled passageways and interconnecting rooms. Agia Galini is often described as a quiet fishing village, but during the summer months it's the liveliest bathing resort on Crete's south coast. Young pleasure-seeking tourists favour the beach and nightlife that guarantee them a good time. Tavernas and restaurants invite refreshment, the aroma of food tempting the hungry and the promise of local wine too good to ignore. But Agia Galini has managed to maintain its original atmosphere, with fishing boats in the harbour and crystal clear water lapping the shoreline. Spili, a small town with a bishop's residence and priest's seminary, is located in lush surroundings. Throughout the year, cool, fresh, sparkling spring water flows from a fountain decorated with lions' heads. The beautiful home of the father of the gods, Zeus, is the setting for many Greek sagas. The Minotaur, Icarus, Dionysus. Each one of these legendary names is here. The Arkadi Monastery lies isolated on a small plateau among hills at the foot of the Psilioritis Mountains, at the end of a winding road. In 1587, during the time of the Cretan Renaissance, a monastic church was built here. Built like a fortress, with high external walls that are interrupted by tiny, discreet windows. Around 1700 AD, Arkadi was by now a wealthy monastery, and with more than 300 monks in residence, set a fine example for the rest of the country. Today, the monastery is surrounded by vineyards and olive groves. Since those tumultuous events, only peace and solitude invade this holy place. The welcoming central courtyard invites relaxation and reflection. How much courage and sorrow must these old walls have witnessed in times gone by? We explore Crete's rocky south coast by boat. Several hundred meters under the monastery is the Preveli Oasis, a small freshwater lake lined with palm trees and fed by a mountain stream. A beautiful place to swim in clear crystal water and to relax under shady palms. The shimmering green water flows over small waterfalls, past well-formed rocks and into the mini oasis. Majestically, the Preveli Monastery stands proudly on a cliff top. Preveli was one of the richest monasteries in Crete. Today, however, only a few monks live in the much-visited Johannes Monastery. The monastery acquired most of its wealth during the Turkish occupation. Because the uncompromising, freedom-loving people of Crete did not want to lose the monastery to the Turks, they simply gave it to them. Even in bright sunshine, the breathtakingly dramatic rocky cliffs give an impression of the harshness of the autumn and winter storms. Fishing villages are few and far between. Most activity takes place in the mountains that seem to rise up from the Aegean. Sun-drenched coastlines, picturesque villages and majestic mountains. No wonder that even the gods felt comfortable here. The precipitous rocky coastline of Agia Roumeli is also the starting point of the Samaria Gorge, that is regarded as the largest in Europe. "18 kilometers long and in places up to 150 meters wide, the gorge stretches from the Libyan Sea up to the heights of Lefka Ori, or the White Mountains. Although it takes several hours, the tiring walk through the gorge is regarded as an exciting natural adventure, and each summer 400,000 people bravely take up the challenge. In order to conserve its flora and fauna, in 1962, the Samaria Gorge was declared a national park. Thus, the residents of its one and only inhabited village had to leave. This crystal-clear mountain stream of rain and melting snow and ice has carved out its path over thousands of years. From the Phaistos Plateau in the heart of Lefka Ori down to the sea. Until a few centuries ago, the White Mountains were passable only by mule and therefore offered a safe retreat for wartime partisans, and its unique vegetation has been preserved. The ruins of the old stone houses can still be seen today. These date back to the first settlement in the gorge. Here too there was a remote mountain village for which the tranquil way of life of its occupants, the sands of time inevitably ran out. In the shadow of threateningly precipitous rocks are extremely rare flowering plants, and up to 30 endangered bird life species breed in the rock walls of the gorge. Chania, Crete's third largest harbour town in which Venetian architecture and Turkish remains have left their mark. Situated on the north side of the island, at the foot of the White Mountains, on Crete's dreamy shores. The old town is full of small and cosy tavernas which offer a relaxing and shady retreat. Idyllic narrow streets, Venetian palaces, romantic inner courtyards, and the longest harbour promenade in Crete encapsulate this picturesque town. The harbour's entrance is overlooked by a fortress wall built by the Venetians that dates from the Middle Ages and protected the Castelli Hills. Chania is known as Crete's most beautiful town. In Rethymno, in the northwest of the island, are reminders of Crete's Venetian and Turkish conquerors. Invitingly, its narrow streets are perfect for a stroll. Within the Venetian fortification, the citadel was an additional fortress to which, in times of danger, the town's population fled for sanctuary. However, the Turks left the fortress unscathed and conquered the town within a day. Megali Nisi, Big Island. Picturesque harbours, ancient treasures, Greek hospitality. Here the gods spread beauty. On the sunshine island of Crete, on which Alexis Zorba danced the fiery Sirtaki, everyone discovers their perfect paradise.